Lately I've been getting loads of calls and emails from watchies around the world asking me to clarify the whats and the whys and the hows when it comes to buying different watches from countries and importing them, and also selling watches to different countries and exporting them. Brexit, VAT, duties, import taxes, handling fees. What does this mean for us watchies? I'm Marcelo from Prestige Watches, and if you've been wondering about how changes in VAT will affect you since Brexit and in general, let's talk about it. So I'm a watch enthusiast and a watch professional. I buy watches for my own enjoyment, to feed my insatiable thirst to experience new watches, and I'm also what some might call a dealer, but I'm personally not too keen on that term, as I see myself more as a watch professional. That is someone who likes to help other watch enthusiasts with their watch goals. And if I do a good job, I get to make a little profit for my kids' piggy banks for my services and my experience. I've been buying and selling watches as a collector for over 20 years and professionally since 2017. Plus, I own a global marketing and manufacturing company, and I've been importing goods from around the world for longer than I care to remember. So you're in good hands when it comes to first-hand knowledge and experience with global importing and exporting. Firstly though, it's worth mentioning that this information is going to be a little UK centric, as I'm in the UK. However, I do buy watches from dealers from around the world and import them to the UK. And I do also sell watches from overseas buyers, so shipping from the UK to countries all around the world. The rules for the most part are pretty much the same for most people around the world, so what I discuss in this video should generally apply. But do seek local expert advice from an import or export specialist or a tax specialist or an accountant that knows their stuff when it comes to importing and exporting goods to and from your country. And the reason I advise this is because different couriers like DHL, FedEx, UPS work differently in different countries. And 2, customs departments in different countries work differently. 3, there are different import tax rates and regulations in different countries and different rules apply. So there may be nuances in this information as things change between couriers and customs and country rules and regulations. So please do bear this in mind. I'm not a tax expert or a shipping expert for that matter. I just have a lot of experience that I would like to share and I hope you find helpful. Okay. From a UK standpoint, everything changed drastically for us as far as buying and selling watches around Europe is concerned on the 1st of January 2021 when the UK and Northern Ireland left the EU regulatory framework. With a massive 1,200 pages of legal jargon to wade through in only a few days, politicians and retailers, traders and every poor soul on the street rushed to try and understand the implications of the agreement. And for us watchies in the UK, trading with European countries changed significantly. For watch collectors and dealers, admin increased, things took longer to process and arrive, and costs went up for both buying watches in Europe and bringing them into the UK, and also selling watches from the UK into Europe. The whole show just got a bit more expensive because even though we are aware of tariff-free movement of goods across the new EU-UK border, tariff-free doesn't mean no VAT or import taxes. So UK customers are now expected to pay UK VAT on all imports from the EU. And as for our European brothers and sisters buying watches from me and anyone else in the UK, they now have to pay their local sales tax, VAT, IVA, GST, in order to get their hands on their new watch. As an example, a £10,000 watch purchased from the EU will most likely come with a £2,000 VAT bill when the watch arrives at the UK border. Now this bill will need to be paid to the courier or customs directly in order for the watch to be released and continue its journey to your wrist. In the past, with a system called VAT margin scheme, when you bought a pre-owned watch, you didn't pay VAT on the full price of the watch. Instead, the dealer paid VAT only on the profits of the watch. So in this example of a £10,000 watch, if the dealer bought that watch for £8,000, they would effectively pay £400 in VAT under the VAT margin scheme, because only the margin that the dealer makes, £2,000 in this example, is taxed for VAT. So when the UK was part of the single market, this scheme applied across the whole of the EU, meaning a watch buyer in the UK didn't really need to worry about VAT when buying from an EU dealer and vice versa. But this is no longer the case, because the margin scheme is no longer applicable and customers will need to pay VAT on the full price of the watch, as opposed to the dealer paying VAT on their margin only. So we've got the VAT margin scheme versus the standard VAT system. Now let's say you're after a Rolex Submariner trading in the UK at £10,000. If you bought that same watch under the standard VAT system, not the margin scheme, the VAT amount would be an extra £2,000, which is 20% on top of the £10,000 price of the watch. Now that's a whopping increase in tax. So in the UK, of course, you can still buy from and sell to individuals and businesses in Europe, but everyone needs to be aware that the buyer, who is the importer of the watch, will need to pay 20%, or whatever the local VAT rate is, on top of the price to buy the watch in order to get it cleared through customs. And this will be true regardless of whether you're buying from a dealer or from a private individual, eBay or Chrono24 or any other watch marketplace. So in short, the buying and selling rules for the UK trading with Europe is now the same as trading with the USA or Japan or any other EU country around the world. So for us watches in the UK, this has created a new little watch ecosystem where we're seeing a lot more watches being traded UK to UK than ever before, and less watches coming into the UK from Europe. And also less watches are being shipped out of the UK to Europe and to the rest of the world. And whereas once we could freely ship in and out of the EU, now bam, you've got that cheeky little VAT payment. As far as exporting watches out of the UK into Europe, I now have extra admin to take care of, and it's now exactly the same as shipping to anywhere else in the world. And this extra admin includes the creation of a pro forma invoice or a commercial invoice with every shipment I make. This needs to include detailed information such as the commercial declared value, that is the commercial value of the goods, as per the invoice amount paid by the customer to the dealer. I also need to include a detailed description of the goods, and I do mean detailed. Once we would put pre-owned wristwatch to help prevent sticky-fingered package handlers at the sorting office having a nose and taking an interest at what's in the package. Now we have to mention exactly what is in the package, including the brand, the reference number, the materials of the watch and any other contents that are in the box, like accessories, and maybe you might be sending a complimentary gift. All needs to be mentioned in great detail. I also have to write the country origin of the watch, that's where it's made, whether it's Switzerland, Japan, UK, US or wherever. I need to include the Harmonised code, also known as the commodity code or HS code of the watch, and different watches and different styles have different HS codes. For example, a digital watch, a digital quartz watch with a digital display, it's got a different HS code to a quartz watch with an analog display, and this is different to a mechanical or automatic watch. I'll leave a link in the description below. I'll mention what the HS codes are for UK watches, but I must say anyone sending something out of their country should check with the commodity code website, which is normally a government website, to see if the code is the same in your country, as it can vary, different countries, different codes. I also had to get an EORI number, which stands for Economic Operators Registration and Identification Number, and businesses and people wanting to trade from and to the UK must use their EORI number as an ID number in all customs procedures when exchanging information with customs. So loads of fun stuff, loads of extra admin. I have heard lots of complaints from lots of dealers about packages getting stuck in customs and courier depots not making it through and not delivering parcels. And that was most likely, I would guess, a result of one or more of the above mentioned things not being completed correctly on the shipping paperwork. It only takes one thing to be wrong or inaccurate and no watch being delivered, and this opens the door to a nightmare of calls and courier complaints and calls to courier companies and customs and arguments with the buyers, and it opens just a nightmare of a journey. I've not had any delivery issues or delays or packages stuck, and I hope and pray that continues, because custom and depots can be a real pain in the arse to deal with. So what about the customers or the buyer's role in all of this? So once upon a time it was purely the job of the dealer or the seller to get the watch onto the wrist of their customer. No ifs and no buts. However, personally I like to explain to international customers, which is anyone buying a watch from outside of the UK, that we need to work in partnership a little bit and I need their help. I tell them that I will push the package out of the UK and into their local courier depot, into their local customs, and it's likely they will need to help pull the package out of customs to get it into their hands. Of course, I keep a close eye on the delivery via the courier's online tracking portal, but there is some degree of responsibility and assistance for the client, who is now the importer or receiver of the goods. I wish it wasn't this way, but unfortunately it is what it is, and being aware of this involvement makes things much smoother. Once the package gets to the local delivery depot, wherever it is in the world, the local courier, FedEx or DHL or whoever, collaborates with the local customs officer to clear the goods. That is, inspecting the package and checking the consignment paperwork lines up with the actual contents of the package. If it doesn't, this is where the nightmare may possibly begin. If it does all line up, then there is still the small matter of getting the package out of the courier depot and through to the front door. And this is where the customer, the importer of the goods, comes into play. He or she may need to call the courier or be in a position to receive a call from them to help clear the goods so they can be released for delivery. So they may need to be on standby to receive a phone call a couple of days before delivery. It might just be answering a couple of questions about the package or clarifying delivery information, or perhaps the big one, paying the import taxes, and that is the local sales tax in your country or state. Each state in the US has a different sales tax percentage, rather than the country as a whole having one general GST rate, and other countries around the world also have different import tax rates. For example, in Australia GST is 10%, in Singapore it's 7%, in Hong Kong there's none, there's no sales tax. Bhutan is the world heavyweight champion in VAT at 50%. Some countries call it VAT, sometimes it's GST, sometimes IVA, and there are others. There'll also be some extra fees to pay on top of the import tax, like a custom clearance process fee or a handling fee, and this could be anything from a few euros, or it could be sometimes $20–30, so just be aware of it. And I'm also sometimes seeing extra fuel charges on my invoices too, which can add 5% or 10% to my shipping invoice. And this is often unaccounted for on my end, which is most unwelcome. If the VAT, import tax, is not paid to the courier, customs officer, the watch won't get released and it won't make it safely to the home of the customer. It will sit in the depot for a few days or weeks, and rest assured the courier depot won't house it forever. After a while they'll want to return the package to the sender, and honestly this can open up the door to a massively stressful situation. You want to avoid that at all costs. So if the buyer isn't aware of this whole process, they won't be happy if it arrives and slaps them in the face. If you're a dealer watching this and you do intend to ship internationally, it's important to be sure you explain the import tax situations to international buyers well in advance. After all, no one wants to pay 10 grand for a watch and then have to pay an unexpected extra 2 grand of local taxes to the courier to get the watch out of customs and onto their wrist. I am seeing lots of dealers not being interested to sell internationally anymore. Some European dealers only sell to other members of the EU, and UK dealers only selling to within the UK and Northern Ireland. All this is just taking away the hassle and the risk and the headaches of international selling. I've tried to buy from US dealers before, and some dealers won't ship a watch to the UK because they don't want to take the risk and they don't want the hassle. And some international dealers will send you a watch but will ask you, well, mainly in the case of B2B trade dealing, to send them a label. You may have heard that, send me a shipping label. And what this means is that they want you to arrange collection of the watch using your courier account. To arrange collection, export the watch out of their country and import the watch into your country. And what this does is totally relinquishes all the responsibility of the door-to-door delivery from them onto you, and it puts sole responsibility into the hands of the person or the business importing the watch. So if there are any challenges or issues or admin problems, it's on you, the importer, to resolve them. Now, I'm sure a dealer, well, a professional one anyway, wouldn't leave you high and dry and would want to assist wherever possible, but the onus is on you, not them, to get the watch delivered. So all this convoluted processing and extra cost is really shrinking the watch buying playground for many watches, watch lovers, enthusiasts in the UK and in Europe. I used to buy watches from Europe on a weekly basis, but now, because of the extra 20% price hike, only certain watches are brought into the UK from overseas. I'll only import watches that are either very well priced and I can make a decent profit on the sale after the extra cost of the import taxes, or perhaps rarer vintage models with a price tag that is a bit more flexible and less set in the marketplace. I'm hoping for a good free trade deal between the UK and the US and Japan, where there's a rich stock of interesting, well-priced new and pre-owned watches. And when I say free trade, I'm hoping for 0% import VAT and not just a duty-free trade. I won't hold my breath, but I'll remain optimistic. I do also have people asking me about DDU and DDP shipping. DDU stands for Delivery Duty Unpaid. DDP stands for Delivery Duty Paid. As the name suggests, DDU means the customer, the importer, is responsible for paying the duty at customs in order to clear the goods for release. The exporter, the seller, is not responsible. DDP means the dealer, the sender of the watch, is responsible for paying the import duties. The importer is not. With DDP, the seller, the dealer, will receive an invoice from the courier, FedEx or whoever, shortly after the watch is delivered. This will need to be paid, or your account may get frozen and trust will be broken between you and the courier, and you may sort of get blacklisted. This is likely to have a negative impact on future deliveries from them to you. I've done a few DDP deliveries a few times, but I'm not a fan, as it always costs me more than I expect. And even though I calculate the simple math of the watch and the price of the VAT in the country and add a few extra pounds for processing and handling, for some reason it never quite stacks up, and it always works out more and I always make a little loss. Challenging the different amount with the courier is a real ball ache, and it's just time consuming and it creates extra work for me. So I always try to stick to DDU and make it the importer's responsibility to pay the import taxes and clear the goods through customs. It's worth mentioning that I occasionally hear stories from buyers, customers, importers receiving their watch from international dealers and not having to pay import taxes. It seems occasionally things slip through the net. I personally have had a few instances where I thought there was going to be no import taxes to pay. I need to get a bill through the post a week or so later. So if you're a buyer and your watch whistles through customs without a peep and sails effortlessly onto your wrist, either thank your lucky stars or keep an eye out for your post, because one day just maybe there'll be a bill for import taxes from the courier that delivered it to you, so please bear that in mind. Now, when dealing with business to business transactions or dealer to dealer, sometimes the courier company will pay the import fees on behalf of the importer and then send an invoice later. Sometimes they ask for upfront payment and won't release the goods until payment is received, and I'm not sure exactly why it varies, but it's probably something to do with the depot having knowledge of your business, knowing your numbers, your VAT number and your EORI number, and can therefore trust that you will pay the import tax bill in the near future and therefore will pay for the release of your goods on your behalf. Also, if the importer is known to the shipper, DHL or UPS, and has a relationship with them and an account set up and is a frequent shipper, this may also add to the trust level and encourage them to pay the import taxes, knowing they'll recover the cost in the very near future. With private individuals, they will pretty much always ask for payment in advance upfront in order to clear the goods through customs and release the consignment through to delivery. Although once again, I've heard of a few instances of watches shipping through customs and slipping through the net and going from an international dealer to the importer's home with no import taxes whatsoever. But you're always better to account for these import fees, the sales tax and the handling fees, so you don't get caught short. And please, 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 you do not want to owe money to the HMRC or the IRS, believe me, and you definitely don't want them chasing after you. That's one big, bad, ugly, hungry, relentless wolf coming after you. So avoid stress and sleepless nights and worry and just pay up, please. Thank you. I also get asked a lot which couriers I use. As far as delivering my watches to customers around the world, I mainly use DHL, but I also use FedEx and UPS. For higher value items, maybe above £10,000 or £15,000, I'll use a specialist courier called Ferrari couriers. Often it depends on the destination country and the value of the watch. So before shipping a watch to a client, I will normally advise them which courier I plan to use. Sometimes they come back with a thumbs up, sometimes they come back with a thumbs down and they ask me to use a different courier, perhaps because they've had a bad reputation in their town or they've had a bad experience in the past. I actually use a shipping agent called Invoice, so I have access to multiple carriers and this works really well for me. So as long as everything is ship-shape with the waybill information and the commercial invoice and the watch is properly packaged and protected, everything should be okay. So I hope this video has helped in some way. I must add, I do recommend to seek a tax import-export professional for proper advice. This is my knowledge based on my own experience of watch trading for many years, both post and pre-Brexit. Please do leave me a comment below with any questions or advice or experience that you've had in the past, good or bad. I'd love to hear from you. Please also like this video and subscribe if you don't mind. Subscribe to the channel as I'll be doing a lot more videos with helpful tips and tricks about buying and selling watches. My website with watches for sale is prestige-watches.co.uk and my Instagram is UK_prestige_watches. Check them out. Thank you so much and see you on the next one.